So happy Earth Day.
Happy Earth Day.
Happy Earth Day.
Yeah. And welcome to the FWIC, somebody else is coming in here, WI Canada Earth Day celebration. For those of you that don't know, my name is Lynn McLean, and I'm the president of FWIC WI Canada, and we're very pleased you could join us this evening. We do have a few housekeeping items. First of all, this event is being recorded, and so you will know that. So please choose OK on your screen if it asks you to do so. Also, if you have not done so, I would request that you put yourselves all on mute so that will help keep down the background noise. And so we will have those that are speaking can open up their mics, but the rest I would ask that you put yourselves on mute. There will be a time for questions and comments at the end of the presentation. And you can either put them in the chat, type them in the chat, or you can raise your hand and we will call on you. So tonight's presentation is about the FWIC project and more importantly, how it fits with the environment. So before we try that sentence again. Before we begin, we will invite Elizabeth Moss, Newfoundland's president, to read the land acknowledgement.
Thank you, Lynn. Before we begin the program, we would like to acknowledge the Indigenous peoples of all the lands that we are on today. While we meet tonight on a virtual platform, we would like to take a moment to acknowledge the importance of the lands and to give gratitude for the sharing of these lands, which we each call home. We do this to reaffirm our commitment and responsibility in improving relations between nations and to improve our own understanding of local indigenous peoples and their cultures. From coast to coast to coast, we acknowledge the ancestral and unceded territory of the Inuit, Métis, and First Nations people that call this land home.
Thank you, Elizabeth. A very special welcome to our Canada Area President, Marie Kenny, who is away, but she's managing to join us tonight. So welcome, Marie. And our past president, Margaret Bile, is here this evening. So a warm welcome to both our ladies. Of course, a warm welcome to all of you. We're delighted to have you with us. So our moderator this evening is going to be Susan Haususki. So I'm going to turn the program over to her.
Thank you, Lynn. Happy Earth Day, everyone. And 2025 marks the 55th anniversary of Earth Day celebrations. The theme for 2025 is Our Power, Our Planet. Tonight, we will look at sustainable fashion through the lens of what it does to the environment. Did you know the fashion industry produces 100 billion garments a year, and 87%, or 40 million tons of garments, end up in a landfill or an incinerator? The discarded garments fill up space in the landfills, but because of what they are made of, burning them releases harmful gases in the air. Only 1% of all discarded clothing is actually recycled. The average garment may be worn as few as 7 to 10 times before being disposed of. Shocking, don't you think? Okay, Susan, where's the rest? We will be answering many questions you may have tonight, such as what is mindful consumption, why the 4 new R's of waste management, what synthetic materials are made of and their impacts on the environment, what it means to have a sustainable wardrobe. There will also be time for questions at the end of the presentation, as Lynn has already mentioned. We hope you enjoy our program this evening and that you learn something about the problems the fashion industry today is creating. So on with the show. This is it. Our first slide is the sustainable fashion, sustainable style, sustainable fashion, and it emphasizes ethical and environmentally responsible production and consumption of clothing. aiming to minimize negative impacts on the environment and workers. It involves eco-friendly materials, reducing waste, promoting fair practices, and encouraging a circular economy where resources are reused and recycled. And at this time, I would like to ask Eleanor, what is mindful consumption?
Thanks for the question, Sue. Mindful consumption involves being conscious about our choices as consumers, quality over quantity. It's about stepping back and evaluating not just what we buy, but why we buy it. This approach supports a greater sense of responsibility toward ourselves, our communities, and the planet. Mindful consumption invites us to slow down and reflect on our purchasing habits and encourages a deeper awareness of what we consume, how we choose to spend our money, and the impact of those choices on ourselves and the environment.
Thank you, Eleanor. Our next slide deals with the 7 R's of waste management. Of course, we're very familiar with the 3 that have been around for eons: recycle, reduce, reuse. And of course, we all had a really good lesson in reduce when ACWW and then FWIC took on food waste last year. And Marie Kenny, our Area of Canada president, made sure each month we had some facts and that about food waste. So at this time, we're going to mainly think of our 4 new R's and why we have them: rethink, refuse, repair, regift. And at this time, I would like to ask Shelley Simrose from BC, the BCWI president, to talk about the 7 R's of waste management.
Thank you, Susan. When I think of the household recycling we do for a household of 2, it is really mind-blowing. It's not unusual for me to go to the recycling depot at our local dump twice a month. I have been mindful of the waste and have been recycling for several years now. And when I think of the garbage that went to the landfill when we were a household of 5, it's even more mind-blowing.
Shelley, when you hear the word rethink in the aspect of the 7 R's, what do you think it means? And it is one of the 4 new R's that we will be discussing tonight.
Thank you, Susan. Rethink. Be someone who makes purchasing decisions with the awareness of the social, environmental, and ethical impacts of your choices, prioritizing sustainability over price and convenience. But as just one person of millions, does it really make a difference? The answer is yes, it really does. One drop makes a mighty ocean, and so does one person's effort make for collective action.
That's a good answer to that one. And then what do you think refuse means?
Another good question. Refuse means to say no to products you don't need or you won't use. Don't feel pressured to buy something you don't want or need. Amazon has a habit of contacting you after you have looked at their website saying, "We have found something that you might like from your browsing history." Go ahead and say no. And it's okay to say no when someone wants to give you something you don't want or need. I know it's easier said than done at times.
Thank you, Shelley. And moving on to another one of our 4 R's, can you give me some ideas of repair?
Yes, I can do that. Torn jeans can be turned into shorts. That hole under the arm of your favorite sweatshirt can be darned with a needle and thread. That plate you broke into a can be made into a beautiful piece of art. It's easy to fall into the habit of disposing of broken, outdated, and torn items and replacing them with new ones. However, this throwaway culture comes with significant environmental and energy cost. Repairing items instead of discarding them not only saves money, but also conserves energy and reduces waste.
Thank you, Shelley. Yes, I have 2 tubs now of items I'm going to repair. I hope I get at it one day. And I even have some of my Royal Albert mugs that broke that I'm going to make into jewelry. Do you think that'll happen this year? We'll see. And also, my other question is, have you ever re-gifted an item that you didn't want or would use? How did it go over?
I can't say that I have personally, but forget what you've heard. We're here to tell you that regifting is good for the planet, and there's no shame in the regifting game. When done right, it's one of the most mindful ways you can give a great gift. Regifting keeps your unwanted gift in circulation, preventing waste from ending up in the landfills and saving the valuable resources it took to make it. Regifting is often framed as tacky, but it makes a lot of sense from an economic and an environmental standpoint. Just because a gift isn't brand new doesn't mean its value is diminished.
Thank you, Shelley. And we'll go back and just relook at a couple of our familiar ones. Did you ever buy too much of something, then have to throw it away as it spoiled before you had time to use it?
I seem to be really good at that with mushrooms. I'm not sure why. Lower the amount you buy and how often you buy. Fortunately, there are many ways in which we can cut down on the things we use in household waste and still live comfortably. By putting even just a little bit of thought and awareness into how we live our day-to-day lives, we can start working to reduce what we buy and consequently reduce waste. Think about buying secondhand clothes or products at thrift stores to reduce production cycles, save energy, and save money. Buy foods when needed in quantities that you really need for your meal plan. Convert to using paperless bills, tap water, old clothes, digital subscriptions, and mason jars. Repair items instead of just throwing them in the trash. Most importantly, learn to differentiate between what you need and what you want. Food is necessary for everyone on earth Food is necessary for everyone on earth to survive. Even with food being such an essential product, we find that massive amounts of food go uneaten, unused, and completely. Sorry, I lost the page. Oh, here. Okay, go unused and completely wasted this every year. The UN estimates that half of all fruits and vegetables are thrown out each year. This has made food waste one of the biggest challenges in tackling waste issues.
Yes, and of course, we can all look back at our food waste sheets and really study them and get into them. Did everyone get the recipe for lettuce soup? I'm not too sure I'm going to try that one yet. Besides reusing like wrapping paper and plastic bags, what are some other ways that we can reuse, Shelley?
Give outgrown clothing to friends or charity. Buy beverages in returnable containers. Donate broken appliances to a charity or a local vocational school, which can use them for art classes or for students to practice repairing. I use plastic yogurt, cottage cheese, and sour cream containers for freezing leftover soups and meals. Do you have a stack of boxes that you might just use down the road? I do.
Thank you, Shelley. And then lastly, of course, is recycling. Can you explain the recycling again, Shelley, to all of us?
I sure can, Susan. Thank you for asking. Recycling is the process of collecting and processing materials that would otherwise be thrown away as trash and turning them into new products. Recycling can benefit your community, the economy, and the environment. Products should only be recycled if they cannot be reduced or reused. Over the years, we have been told to recycle, recycle, recycle. We know what things can be recycled, everything from newspapers to old tires.
Okay, though, recycling is now the least of the 7 R's because we are not really solving the problem. Why is recycling not as effective?
Thank you, Susan. 5 reasons why recycling is not the answer. Number 1, we are producing more than what we are recycling. Number 2, there's no guarantee an item is actually going to be recycled. Number 3, recycling takes a lot of energy. Number 4, air pollution from recycling plants. Number 5, contamination is a serious issue.
After that, yes, I think we all have to rethink recycling. Thank you, Shelley, very much. That was just an overlook of our 7 R's of waste management. And at this time, I'm going to ask Brenda to walk us through our next slide, synthetic materials equals fossil fuels, and what is the trade-off? And what are some examples of synthetic materials and what are they made of? Brenda?
Oh, thank you, Susan. I'd be happy to walk us through this information. So synthetic materials are man-made materials created through chemical processes. And today we're looking at those derived from fossil fuels. Some examples of synthetics are polyesters, nylon, acrylics, and spandex.
How have synthetics revolutionized clothing?
Well, they are very strong and very versatile. They are cheap to buy and cheap to produce. They are long-lasting. They're often waterproof and they are lightweight.
So what is the trade-off and why is the intended purpose outweighed by the risks?
The trade-offs on synthetic textiles are they are not made from renewable resources. They are made using very high energy processes. They contain chemicals which can be harmful to the wearers and to those involved in their productions. Many of these chemicals have been linked to health problems such as asthma, reproductive problems, developmental delays, and cancers. The rapid growth of the fast fashion industry worldwide has led to waste, pollution, and increased resource consumption.
Oh, thank you, Brenda. Can you explain to us then, in broad terms, the process of creating the synthetics?
Yes, this is a complicated process, and I looked at it and I thought, how can I narrow this down? So I've just narrowed it down for us because we don't really want to get into the scientific facts of all of it, I don't think. The refining of crude oil produces petrochemicals. These petrochemicals are the building blocks of synthetics. Once extracted, they are mixed with different chemicals to form plastic chips. These chips are then heated and melted. Once this is done, they are passed through various machines to produce plastic fibers. Synthetic materials are formed from these fibers. The different synthetics that we wear are made from the different chemical compounds having their own properties.
Wow. I know that they're not the ideal thing to wear when you're having hot flashes. I would like to have a cooler just for me sometimes. And how do these synthetics then affect our land, air, and water?
Well, they can lead to habitat loss and deforestation through chemical pollution and the extraction of raw materials. They are very difficult to recycle. As you said earlier, it's less than 1% worldwide are recycled every year. They can take up to 500 years to decompose in the landfills, meanwhile leaching chemicals into the soil. They take up valuable space in the landfills. Burning of these chemicals or burning of these fabrics, which happens a lot in landfills and dumps around the world, releases contaminants into the air, such as methane gases, which contributes to climate change and air pollution. Synthetic material production also uses substantial water due to the industrial processes involved in their production, including oil exploration and refining, as well as the water used in cooling and other manufacturing steps. Dyes and chemicals used in processing the fabrics are often not treated and released raw into waterways. And microplastics are also released into water systems.
Can you explain what microplastics are and why we should be concerned?
I'd be happy to. Microplastics are defined as plastic fragments smaller than 5 millimeters in length. Now, synthetic clothing are made from plastic fibers, and will start to shed these fibers when washed, which ends up in our wastewaters, which then leach into our waterways and oceans. Not only are microplastics getting into our water systems, creating environmental problems, but they can also travel through all the food chains, ultimately affecting human health.
How are microplastic and washing machines connected?
Well, this is a good question, and they are very connected. When synthetic clothing is washed, they shed plastic fibers. It is thought that over 35% of microplastic pollution comes from laundering our clothes. Studies have shown that up to 700,000 microplastic fibers can be released from one load of laundry, and friction and heat are the two main factors in releasing these fibers.
Why are we focusing on microplastics today when there are so many issues associated with synthetic fabrics?
Because it's something we all have control over. We all have clothing and we all wash our clothes. By practicing some smart and thoughtful washing habits, we can take action in our own homes and help make a difference. So first of all, try to wash in cold water. Warm or hot water breaks down the fabrics quicker and causes more microplastic fibers to be released. Use shorter washing cycles. Do full loads. Try not to use cycles like the gentle cycle and other settings that increase the washing time of laundry loads. Fabrics will break down more the longer they are being tossed around in your washing machine. The more friction there is between garments, the more microplastics are released. Line dry if you can. Hang your laundry to dry when you can. This helps to avoid the heat and friction of the dryer, which can also break down fabrics prematurely. Choose natural fabrics. They also release fibers, but these fibers will eventually biodegrade in the system. Front-load washing machines are proving to be generally gentler on fabrics and release fewer microplastics than top-loading machines. And lastly, use less laundry detergent and save on your budget by doing so. Powder detergents cause more friction between clothing than liquid.
Well, I have changed to the liquid detergent, but now, after you said that front-loading washing machines are gentler on the fabrics, maybe I can push to get a new washer. So remember, wash in cold water, use shorter washing cycles, do full loads, line dry. I'm not sure I'm in favor of that one anymore. Choose natural fabrics and get that front-loading washing machine and use less laundry detergent. Thank you, Brenda. That was very informative. Greatly appreciated. And
Thank
now
you.
we're going to go back to Eleanor. And Eleanor, can you tell us a little bit about the different types of fashion and what it means to have a sustainable wardrobe?
I sure can. So sustainable, slow fashion versus fast fashion. In today's fast-changing fashion scene, oh my goodness, there's a big split between two main ideas: fast fashion and sustainable, which is slow fashion. Fast fashion is all about making trendy, cheap clothes quickly to keep up with what's hot right now, while sustainable, slow fashion focuses on being ethical and eco-friendly, stressing durability, quality, and responsible sourcing. So for slow fashion, think before buying. Do you really need the latest clothing item on trend? Where do the garments come from and how are they created? Supporting companies that create garments with earth-friendly and innovative materials, fair labor practices with less greenhouse emissions. Whereas fast fashion refers to mass production of inexpensive, trendy clothing, significant environmental issues such as pollution and waste, social problems with exploitation of workers, and rapid production cycles, which increases a throwaway culture, overconsumption, which is harmful to both people and planet. So
Thank you.
now,
Oh,
these
Eleanor.
questions are,
And now we're going
what's
to,
in your closet?
yeah. Yeah, go ahead, Eleanor.
Okay, so this is for you ladies. What's in your closet? Let's think about your closet for a moment. Do you have some clothing that you don't necessarily love, or that you purchased it because it was cheap and you have only worn it a couple of times? Cheap clothing, both in quality and in price, usually gets thrown away without a second thought and ends up in the landfill. This is something we need to avoid. Do you know what materials your clothes are made from and how it affects the environment? Clothing made from conscious brands with eco-materials like organic cotton, hemp, or wool are better choices than harmful materials like polyester or nylon. Did you know that only about 1% of clothing is actually recycled, and that 85% of clothes end up in landfills?
Oh, thanks, Eleanor. That was great information. But how do you build a sustainable wardrobe then?
Okay, so building a sustainable wardrobe is one of the best ways to simplify your life while making a positive impact on the environment. A sustainable wardrobe isn't about having less, it's about having more of what truly matters. Start small, make intentional choices, and enjoy the freedom of a well-curated, eco-friendly closet. These are some items, some points that you should consider when you're looking at your wardrobe. Repurpose or regift items in your closet. Donate, sell, or repurpose unwanted items to keep them out of the landfills. Rethink quality over quantity. One well-made sweater is better than 5 low-quality ones that wear out quickly. Prioritize sustainable and ethical brands. A sustainable wardrobe prioritizes ethical brands that focus on fair wages, safe working conditions, and eco-friendly materials. These brands are often made with low-impact dyes using eco-friendly production methods. Reuse, shop, second-hand, and vintage. I'm sure many of us have probably got some items in our wardrobe that fit those categories right now. Thrift stores, consignment shops, and online resale platforms are great places to find high-quality second-hand clothing at a fraction of the price. Shopping second-hand extends the life of garments and keeps them out of landfills, and of course, saves us a lot of money. Reduce, one in, one out. When you buy something new, remove an old piece to maintain your balance. Out with the old and in with the new. Repair. Care for your clothes properly. Extend the life of your clothing by following proper washing, drying, and storage techniques. And repair any minor damage instead of discarding items, keeping them out of the landfill also.
Thank you, Eleanor. That was great. I hope everyone enjoyed that section on how to build a sustainable wardrobe, and that we're all going to try it. Okay, at this time, I'm going to ask Angela what we're going to do now with all this education we've passed on tonight, and we're going to expect fantastic things from all this education, aren't we, Angela?
Oh, I hope so, Sue. I hope so. We thought it would be important to tell you about the Tweedsmuir and Senator Corinne Wilson competitions coming up for the year 2027 when we next get together, because they all have the theme connected to sustainable style and mindful consumption. So I'm going to take just a minute to go over some of these so that we have a heads up for the types of things to be looking for, and most importantly, maybe doing over the next couple of years. The first one is the Tweedsmuir Handicraft Competition. We're going to ask that you make a throw, 45 by 60, and use recycled materials and trims. Now, those throws will be donated to homeless shelters or food banks in the location where the 2027 convention is held. So I'm sure we'll have fun making a few throws. Next is the history competition, the Tweedsmuir History Competition, and it's a story, a written story with photos, and it's about the history of a garment. Next would be the Tweedsmuir Community Competition. And we are suggesting a clothing swap or a secondhand boutique rummage sale. We know that lots of WIs hold these in their communities or districts, and it would include a write-up on the rules and responsibilities of the WI workers, where the clothing came from and what types of clothing are available. And if possible, maybe we could include some individual stories and pictures of successful shoppers. Next, we have the Tweedsmuir Cultural Competition, which would be a fashion show. And we're suggesting that possibly the clothing can be worn at various it would be a fashion show including clothing that was worn at various stages in women's lives, such as school, workplace, wedding, maternity, casual, or even workout garments. And the last one, this one is more complicated to describe, so it goes like this. It's the Senator Corinne Wilson Empowered Women Competition. And it is a competition for the branch to do as a whole. It's called All You Can Create, Repurpose, and Reuse Project. And so the guidelines for all of these will have been in the WI Connections last month, and they will be in the future as well, along with the judging criteria. But this last one, the Empowered Women Competition, would really involve everybody in the branch, or quite a few people anyway. We're asking that you create as many useful items as possible from a minimum of 3 or more different pre-owned garments. Then we would like a write-up describing how the women in the branch felt empowered to create the designs. Include some photos, the stages of the project from start to finish, and then the completed items will be brought to the convention to be judged. So if, let's say for instance, there were 3 garments to start with, you might have 16 items all told. And we're hoping that they would be kind of smallish garments or pieces. For instance, could be a sweatshirt that you would cut up, and you could make mittens, or you could make oven mitts, all kinds of different things. It's just whatever the design process and the creativity where it flows from and gives you a good idea. The items will be judged and then donated to the sales tables at the convention. And if some items remain, the remainder will go to the homestead gift shop. And so that one is a little bit more complicated, but it is the empowerment piece. And so it would require lots of brainstorming amongst the women in the branch. Do you have any questions?
We'll do those at the end, Angela.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So thank you very much, Angela. That is good. And I think everybody is into this. I can see all the gears turning. I can just see them. Couple
Yeah.
steam rising too, but there's lots of gears turning.
Yeah.
Thank you, Angela. That was good. And it's sure gonna, as you said, take lots of thought, lots of work, but it's going to be exciting to see what everyone comes up with. Okay, and so thank you very much, Angela.
You're welcome.
Next up, we have Anne.
Yeah, you're muted, Anne.
Oh, Anne, yeah, thanks, Lynn.
No problem.
The one thing I forgot to do.
It's okay.
As you can see from the slide in front of you, we just listed resource possibilities in general. When the project manual, which is listed second, is released, there will be a list of what we have found to date for resources, whether it's from the internet, whether it's from books, or activities that have happened in different parts of the country. New resources on the topic will always be coming to our attention. And if you do find a good resource, please let us know. One of the resources that was suggested when I was looking for some was a Netflix documentary called By Now, and it has been rated as very good by several of our committee members. I'm hoping that this weekend when my daughter's home, I'll get to use her Netflix account and can watch the video. We're always wanting to let others know about the sound factual information that is available. If you are like me, you can be easily distracted when you are looking at a resource on the internet and you find another good sounding article and you click on that. And then there's another idea and you click on that and you soon find yourself an hour later having gone through and you're many clicks away already from the original article that you started to read. I often refer to it as I've gone down the rabbit hole, particularly on Pinterest. Going down the rabbit hole can be quite interesting, but also when you're looking at other resources as well. So keep us in mind when you are finding resources that you think might be helpful to us. We'll be looking for articles, definitions. There's going to be some games and quizzes that will be included in the project manual as well. So I'm excited to see this, and I think everyone else will be too, Sue.
Yes, thank you, Anne. And when Anne says that you go down a rabbit hole, that's so true. This is just some information I have been collecting on sustainable fashion. And so, yes, and I'm hoping that, and I do believe, right, Angela, that there'll be more in the network news, games and quizzes about the fashion.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
Every month in WI Connections, there is an article and games and that sort of thing. And then each time we have a new piece, it will get added to the project manual. So on a regular basis, we'll share that project manual so you have a ready resource and all of the items at your fingertips at all times.
Perfect. That sounds very, very interesting. And I think everybody's looking forward to adding to it and gathering their stuff. And so thank you, Anne. Thank you, Angela. And now, Deborah, you're up. Manitoba WI, Deborah.
Hello, we hope you've enjoyed the discussion on sustainable style tonight and that you've had your interest piqued. To find further information and some tips, you can sign up for the Connections monthly newsletter by going to fwic.ca. You can visit the FWIC website. It often has tips that go and information that go far beyond this project, and definitely it's a worthwhile site to visit on a regular basis. Or you can follow FWIC on social media, and regularly there are tips that will correspond to the presentations tonight. Excuse me. You'll find the presentation tonight has been videoed, so it will appear on the FWIC YouTube channel. Won't be there tomorrow because it does take some time to go through it and edit it, but it will come. It will be there shortly, and it will help you to share the information tonight with others who may not have been able to attend, or to take it to your branch and use it as a, as in my case, as a Zoom presentation. The sustainable development or style manual that has been mentioned should be coming in towards late summer, if I remember correctly, Angela.
Oh, I think it'll be ready quite soon, Deborah. I think
Oh,
we'll
there we go.
distribute it. Yeah, and we'll be distributing it over and over again because it will have stuff added to it.
And it certainly will be worthwhile punching some holes in and putting it into a binder. It will be a resource that will be continue to grow, and one that you will likely refer to on a regular basis. The excuse me. Every now and then I get one of these little coughs. I'll be glad when we get a good rain. Going forward, what we would like to request from everyone is that you share your branch activities. Take a little bit of a picture, do a little write-up. Doesn't have to be a half page. It can be just a couple of paragraphs stating what the pictures refer to and some of the interesting insights that have come from your members while they were involved in the activities. Send your activities to the WI Connections. You see the email address there, and the Connections comes out monthly, so definitely get your pictures taken, and they do not have to come all tomorrow. They can certainly come over the next few months. The one aspect that we would like you to really consider is to attend the FWIC AGM. You'll see it's on July 8th. There is a lot of sharing that takes place and a lot of new information. The speakers will be certainly of value to you listening, and it's virtual. So if you're like me, you can sit on your couch. You can have your old lady over your shoulder watching what all the ladies are doing, and enjoy your cup of tea while you're listening and participating. If you have any questions, any comments, tips you want to share, please feel free to contact FWIC at the email address info@fwic.ca. So thank you all for attending, and Sue, back to you.
Thank you, Deborah, very much. That was perfect. And now we'll open the floor to questions. If anybody has questions. And Lynn, I don't know how to answer hands and that sort of thing. So
It's all right.
do you mind doing the questions in the raised hands part?
Not a problem. Okay, Liz
you.
has her hand up.
Okay, it was a very interesting presentation. Good to hear all the things happening. I just want to make a comment when Shelley mentioned about the mushrooms. One of the things that you can do with mushrooms, or at least I do, is I cut them up, but I saute the onions, put them in, and usually I started that with when we have green onions, but you can use regular onions. Saute the onions and mushrooms and maybe even throw in some celery. Then you put them in containers and throw them in your freezer. So when you decide you want something with mushrooms, this way you don't waste your mushrooms.
Thank you. That's a
Great
great
tip.
idea.
And another comment I guess question or something I want to direct was to Angela. When you mentioned the Corinne Wilson Empowered, and it's a branch project, and when you mentioned mittens and stuff, something came to my mind. In Manitoba, as most of you know, we do have individual members that do not belong to a branch. And I do know there is a lady that actually has been doing craft shows by using old garments like sweaters and things like that. She embellishes them with buttons, with lace or whatever. What I was wondering, would that competition be also open to individual members rather than just a branch?
I really don't know, to be
Well, that's
honest.
something for you to think about if you want to
It,
do that,
it,
because, you know,
it
that
would
would be, it would include them, especially if they
Yeah.
don't belong to a branch. And I'm going to use Ann Masnick as an example. She's an individual member. So, I mean, she's not the particular one I was speaking about, but I'm just going to use her as an example. So I just
Sure.
thought I'd bring that forward. Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
good. Thank you.
Thanks, Liz.
Yes, we'll definitely take that into consideration. Any other questions?
So in the manual, we will also have suggestions for sharing circles. So if you want to adapt this project next year for your branches, there will be items you could use for roll call, for sharing circles, different activities you could use, different information you could share. So it does have the ability to go right down to the members on a monthly basis. And I know branches like to organize their programs a year in advance. So our plan, as Angela said, we wanted to have this manual available. So as people are looking towards their programs for next year, that this information will be there for them to use if they so wish. So, and we're hopeful that others, we certainly will be continuing talking about this at various levels. So Liz?
Sorry, I got another thought. When you mentioned doing the articles for some project and that, that doesn't necessarily, I guess I'm going to say not broaden it, but can be broadened other than women's fashions, could be men's fashions. I'm thinking of shirts or
Absolutely.
even
Yes, yes.
So it's not strictly to women's fashions.
No,
No.
no.
Okay, well, thank you for that. And sorry to butt.
No, you're fine, dear. So Hanya says, thank you, well done. Wendy says, thank you, great presentation. There's many more messages here. I think we're good. So any other comments? So Deborah?
I found the information in the presentation on the little bits of microfibers that are released through washing really hit home when I first heard it. We live very old in my family, and one of the things that we found is the last two survivors on my paternal side both had microplastics in their kidney system. So it made me realize that it isn't just in the water and destroying the environment, but it is also building up within our own systems. And I knew that fact, and it bothered me, but when I started participating in this presentation, it really, for some reason, hit home. It made me really start to think a little bit differently about some of the things that I do and don't do. So I hope it has the same effect on everybody else that are shaking their heads up and down on my screen.
Yeah. Thank you, Deborah. Actually, they've done some testing. There was an article out about a week or so ago where they're finding microplastics in people's brains. So this is something to be, and they have no idea what the long-term impact of this on humans. So it is something we need to take cautious of, and we need to be aware of, and what can we do about it. So there are some things, if you have materials that have some of these synthetic fabrics in them, fibers in them, there is something called a gubby bag that you can buy. Now, most of them are European, but there are some available in Canada. And so to put those kinds of clothes in that, and it helps to reduce, I don't know if it completely eliminates it, but at least it captures a fair amount of those microplastics in the bag so that they do not get into our water system. So they are working on ways. Europe is ahead of us, and of course, in all of this. But it is something we need to think about, and how do we go about changing? I think some of our discussions will eventually lead into resolutions. What form they take yet, we're not quite sure, but we are going to have to pay attention to this. So Marie says her phone's about to die, but she wanted to thank us very much for a wonderful, informative presentation. So that was in the chat. So and someone else said, interesting. Colleen says, interesting. Thank you for the presenter's efforts. So, Anne.
Just wanted to comment that when I was looking for some of the resources, I'd happened to see a couple of things on the news in Manitoba. And we have the Manitoba Council for International Cooperation in the province, and they sponsored an event at the Canadian Museum for Human Rights in Winnipeg. The theme for 2025 was fast fashion, and they had 150 students attending this event in the city. And the information was available on their Facebook page. And then I did find the CBC News story after or that's where I found out about the CBC News story and was able to do some checking on that. But it's interesting because this was high school students, I think possibly grade 8 and up, that were attending. And they actually did some things where they were repairing a garment that had a hole in it or something like that. And so the movement is there for some of that kind of thing to happen. And maybe it's a case of everyone I can give you examples from Manitoba, but that's not going to be good for the rest of you from Newfoundland to British Columbia. So looking for those resources in your own community, finding out about, then I found out about a couple of Facebook pages where they talked about mending and doing some creative things with how you could do the mending on the clothes. So there are examples there that you're going to find in your own local community if you haven't found them already, or maybe not just your community, but your area or your province. So it's interesting that other groups are taking a look at this type of a program and dealing with them as well.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's a hot topic.
Mm-hmm.
Margaret's asked, the name of that bag is a Gubby friend bag or Gubby bag. I'll put it in the connections, but it's, if you Google a bag that for the wash that will keep your microplastics out of it, I'm sure the name will come out of it. So, so that's what that is. Francis, thank you for the presentation. You've given me some ideas for entertainment at our district annual. So that's cool. So, and that's what we're hoping is that you'll share this information in one form or another. So if there aren't any more questions or comments, I'd like at this time to say a very sincere thank you to all of our presenters this evening, Elizabeth and Susan and Eleanor and Shelley and Brenda and Angela and Deborah and Anne. And hats off to Margie Taylor. She is ill. She was had created some of our PowerPoint for tonight and unfortunately is ill and couldn't join us. So Eleanor was pitch hitting for her. So anyway, thank you to all of those folks for all their work. And as I said, as Susan said, this will be recorded and Deborah has reaffirmed that it is recorded. We will upload it to YouTube, but we'll do a little bit of editing and before we do that. So I hope within a week but if you've watched the FWIC WI Canada YouTube channel, the advocacy part 2 is there and we'll have this one up shortly. So another comment from Barb says, a wonderful presentation. Thank you. Shop in your closet to find a new old outfit. Just did this for Easter Sunday. Wore a suit that I had not had on for years. Absolutely, Barb. That's exactly what we need to be doing. So anyway, so thank you. I'm going to stop the recording now. So you're welcome to stay on and have some chats if you will. But we do appreciate all your time and your commitment to WI, both provincially and nationally.